Welcome everyone to Good Knits. I'm Sherry and this is my knitting channel here on YouTube. Today I want to start a new series that I'm going to call the Wear Test. So I've realized that in my more traditional knitting podcasts, I talk a lot about my finished garments. So what I've recently completed, my initial impressions of them, if I've kind of worn them, and then for the most part, they're largely forgotten. You might see them in future episodes if I'm wearing them. I might talk about them a little, but it's kind of always moving on to the next thing. So I thought it'd be fun to look back at sort of the last 4 to 6 months of knits and really scrutinize, have I worn those pieces? How have they fit into my life? Is there anything that I would change in my overall impressions? Hopefully it can also help you in deciding to make these garments, but also I think it's good for me to sort of see, okay, is there anything that I would do differently in the future, especially for the seasons to come? So today is going to be the winter edition. I did finish a few more like spring summer pieces end of last year and like this year recently with my blouse number 2, but because it hasn't really been the season for it, I'm not going to include those items. I really want to focus on the sweaters because those were in season and those are items that I really had an opportunity to wear and see how they fit into my life. Apologies if my voice is a little bit off. I am getting over a pretty bad cold, but I'm going to try to power through this. You might also see some items come up in multiple videos in the future, depending on if those are more transition items. So cardigans, for example, maybe items that are layering pieces. I figure it's probably good to see, even with more time and through different seasons, does my opinion of those garments change? So this for now, at least, is going to be solely focused on garments. For winter, I did make a few hats. A lot of them were gift knits. All the other ones were Oslo hats. I don't want to keep rehashing the Oslo hat. So I am really just going to focus on the sweaters. And I have 5 pieces to show you that I have made between September and I guess end of March. And first would be my CARDI jumper by Vert, then my Salty Day sweater by Veronica Lindberg or Kutovakika. Then I have my Monday sweater by PetiteKnit, my cardigan number 4 by My Favorite Things Knitwear, and my Gallant sweater from Caidree. And apologies that I was just looking over. I was checking my knit pile to make sure that I didn't miss anything. So there's 5 garments. It's not an overwhelming amount, but I've had ample opportunity to wear all of these, and I'm really excited to also just take a kind of look back and see how did I enjoy these. So to sort of give this a fair comparison, what I'm gonna try to do is stick to a bit of a, system. First, I'll go through kind of on average, how often did I wear that piece? So that could be daily, weekly, monthly, next to never. I also figure I will do a bit of an overall satisfaction score between 1 and 5. 1 obviously being, it didn't really fit, I learned a lot, here's what I would do differently, and 5 being I absolutely love it, I wouldn't change a thing, and I wear it all the time. And then the final piece would be, is there anything that I would change about this garment to make me actually love it more and wear it more? If not, what did I learn from that piece that I would take into my future knitting so that I don't make the same mistakes again? So with all of that being said, let's go ahead and get started with the first piece, which is going to be my CARDI jumper from Vert. All right, so this is my CARDI jumper from Vert, and I made this in Knitting for Olive merino and soft silk mohair held double in the color putty. So this is a drop shoulder cardigan, and I won't go into like tons and tons of detail because obviously it's in past podcast episodes, but high level drop shoulder. It has some nice little buttons which you just kind of push through on the I-cord, and then it's meant to be reversible to wear it reversed, obviously. So this is a piece that I was super excited for. I absolutely love the look of this. You have your nice little rib details, you have your I-cord edging. Overall, it's just really, really gorgeous. And I think I intended when I made this that I would probably wear it regularly, at least once a week. I thought it would be a really nice layering piece. One thing that I have found with this particular item is I only wear it, I would say, twice a month. However, that doesn't mean that I haven't actually really loved this piece. I think the reason that I wear it only twice a month, and this probably has a lot to do maybe with the color choice, the button choice. I did pick a sort of more like pearly, fancy button, I would say, with like some gold trim. I think the reason that I don't wear this as often is simply because it feels a little bit more elevated and dressed up. I really, really love it. On the scale of 1 to 5 for overall satisfaction, I would say this is a 4.5 for me. And the only reason that I cut off that half point is because I find the neckline, it kind of sits a bit too open. So I really have to wear a tank top under it so that my bra strap doesn't show. So I constantly kind of find myself fidgeting with it and pulling it up just so that my tank top or bra straps aren't showing. However, I think if I were to have knit the size down, so this is a size 38, and if I'd done the 36, I think it would have been too tight in the body. So I really like kind of how, it's not super oversized, but I really like the amount of ease that I got on this piece. And I think it's nice to do a French tuck. It goes well with jeans and skirts. I actually wear it quite a lot with like a short black mini skirt out on a date. So I don't think I would go down in size per se, but then I'm not sure how I would have necessarily changed kind of the gapiness of this. And I'm gonna go ahead and flip it around so that you can also see how it would look reversed. Because actually I thought I would wear it reversed all the time. And the thing that I'm finding is I actually, not once have I worn it in the reverse, and I'll show you why. Okay, so here we go. We have the reverse look, and I think why I don't wear this is there's just something, I think because the way that this rolls, you can sort of see this messy edging here, and it just looks a little bit sloppy to me, and I'm not sure if other people had that in this pattern. I sort of expected, like with this boat neck feeling, that I would wear it more often, but I think it is that edging that just, it makes it feel like it's not meant to be worn reversed, and therefore, yeah, it just looks sloppy. It doesn't look intentional. So that's okay. I think, you know, I still really, really love this piece. For the most part, would I change anything? Not really. I think, like I said, the only thing that bothers me really is maybe this and the gapiness of it so that you can see my bra straps. But I would absolutely make this piece again in the future because I think for an elevated cardigan that just looks really, really nice dressed up, and it does work dressed down. I just don't personally wear it that often dressed down. I think in a different color, maybe it would work a little bit better. So this was a huge win for me. It was my very first cardigan ever that I actually finished. And for me, slam dunk. I get so many compliments. My husband absolutely loves this sweater. Every time I wear it, he thinks it's store-bought. So that makes me feel really good. And I'm really, really proud of this as my first cardigan piece. So that is my CARDI jumper, and I really wish I was not filming this on the hottest day that we've had so far. I think it's like 10:30 in the morning, and I think it's already 25 degrees. So if I start to look red and hot throughout this episode, that is why, and I don't want to open my window because then I'll get street noise. So CARDI jumper. Next up is my Salty Day sweater by Veronica Lindberg, also known as Kutovakika. So I finished this end of December, and this I would say is one of the garments that I was absolutely most excited to knit as part of my fall knitting plans. This was like a must-have. I absolutely needed it in my wardrobe. And And I think maybe you can already tell why it's not necessarily my favorite piece ever. And sorry for looking at the camera, I'm just trying to see how it looks. So with the Salty Day sweater, I would say, so I finished it in December. I have a memory, so it's now May 2nd. I have distinct memories of wearing it 3 times, so less than once a month. And that isn't because it hasn't been cold here. It has been. There's been ample opportunity to wear this piece. Where I struggle, so my overall satisfaction of this, I would say, is like a 2.5. And where I went wrong is this sweater was meant to be knit in, I think it was DK weight yarn. So it was like pure Gint or double Sunday held with a mohair. And I decided to swap it out with the, what is it? What did I make this with? It'll come to me. Something Gilead. I'll put it up on screen. I don't want to look it up right now. But so I made it with a worsted weight held single, and I gauge swatched. I didn't quite get gauge. I gauge swatched on a bigger needle, and then for some reason I questioned myself and was like, maybe I just didn't like block the gauge swatch correctly. And I did that, got gauge after stretching it, I would say quite a bit from memory. And I decided to just push forward with the recommended needle size, which I think was 5.5 millimeter, with the yarn that I had selected. And that was a mistake. So you can see, like, this is meant to be oversized. It's a size small, and it's really, really not. So I did everything to pattern, and I ended up buying, you know, the recommended amount of yardage for my size. And in the end, I think I said I had 2 grams left of this. So I was really down to the wire with yarn chicken. I think the biggest thing that initially bothered me about this is the neckline. So you can see, like, this is quite raised, and if we look at pattern photos, like, it's like quite open, so I would say it's more like that. So when I wear this, especially because it's a little bit of an itchy yarn, it drives me crazy. So I'm constantly like pulling at my neckline, hoping that somehow I can stretch it. But with the twisted rib on, I think the twisted rib was done on like 3.5 millimeter needles, so quite small. It's just really tight. I was actually worried when I was binding this down that like I wouldn't even be able to get it over my head. So I think the neckline is originally what bothered me the most. And I was thinking for next season, okay, maybe to address that, what I'll do is take out the neckline, remove a bunch of rows, and then bind it down, or even just don't even bother folding it over and seeing how I feel about that. But I wore this out to dinner with my husband about a month ago. And actually what I realized through that is my issues with the sweater go beyond just the neckline and the sleeve length. It really comes down to the fact that I am just not happy with the overall fit. So when I wear this with like a nice kind of fancier skirt, it feels okay. It sort of feels proportional to my outfit. But when I'm wearing it with jeans, I don't feel comfortable. Like it feels like it's meant to be an oversized sweater, and it's very, very petite. So it looks like I'm wearing a sweater that is intentionally, or maybe not intentionally, too small. So I'm trying to decide what to do with this item, because my issue is not with the pattern. I love the pattern. I really enjoyed making this sweater, but it's I would say it's a flop for me because I am not really ever gonna wear this. So I'm thinking next season, I'm not gonna do it anytime soon. I'll pull it out again next fall, decide then, okay, does this still bother me? Do I feel like it has a place in my wardrobe? And if not, I might frog the whole thing and make something else, or potentially remake the sweater, buy another ball or two of the yarn, and yeah, make it at the correct dimensions, because I would still like a Salty Days sweater in my wardrobe, but I'm also thinking just with the kind of roughness of this yarn, and I mean it did soften up a lot in blocking. I think with the roughness, maybe I just didn't make the best yarn choice either. I think it shows the stitch definition really, really well, but I kind of wish I had just gone with the suggested DK weight yarn plus mohair held together. Maybe the mohair would have given it a nicer feeling while wearing it. So that's a shame, because I would say of all the things that I made in the last 6 months, this is the piece that I was most excited for, and I really tried to talk myself into liking this. I even did a mid-project block and was doubting if I should continue with it when I'd finished the body. And I wish I'd listened to my instinct a little bit more there and actually just ripped back and started over. I probably would have been a lot happier for it. Maybe I wouldn't have ended up with this piece in my wardrobe because I would have just been tired of working on it. But that's where I'm at with this one. So yeah, overall satisfaction quite low, but I had a lot of learnings from it, and I'm definitely much more careful now with my gauge swatches. So I never ever stretch them. I'm really trying to be more mindful of using the correct needle size, and hopefully that will serve me well in the future. Third item on the list is my Monday sweater by PetiteKnit, and I made this in Yellowfolds Utspinderi Dansbesold 8-2 in the color copper, held with Knitting for Olive soft silk mohair in the color claret. And I love this sweater. So I finished it, I believe, first week of February, so I've had a few months to wear it. And I for sure wear this weekly on average, if not multiple times a week. And I'm actually very sad to put it away for the winter because just the color, the raglan details. I mean, honestly, I don't know if I ever need to make another raglan sweater again. I think this is my pattern. I love the way it fits. I made a size small again, and I think, you know, the amount of positive ease that I got is really good. In the podcast episode that I did for this, I said my issue at the time was the sleeves were too short, and I reblocked it, and I was able to get about 3 additional centimeters out of the sleeves. So now it does sit pretty much exactly at my wrist bone, which is what I was hoping for. I could maybe still, I'm gonna see how I feel about it next winter, maybe still add a little bit of length to the sleeve, but I think it's now at least at the length where I'm not like tugging it while I'm wearing it. And it did end up a little bit more cropped than I originally wanted it. I did knit to pattern, but I think my row gauge was off, so it ended up a little bit off. I feel like I have a hair on my face. However, with the high-waisted pants I have and the skirts that I've been wearing it with, it's actually the perfect length. I'm really, really happy with it. So my overall satisfaction of this piece is a 5. There is literally nothing other than maybe the sleeve length that I would change. That's an easy fix. But really, like, this fits into my wardrobe so well. I get tons of compliments on the color of it. Everybody loves it. I think it suits me so perfectly. And it's really, for such a basic piece, one of the pieces that I'm most proud of that I've ever made. And yeah, so would I change anything other than the sleeve length? No. Did I learn anything for future projects? I think the learning was to definitely go a bit more bold with my colors. I am really happy that I did. It's kind of within that like true autumn palette that I got for my color analysis. And I think it just like really livens me up, and I feel so good when I wear this piece. So that makes me really happy, because I thought, okay, maybe based on this color, I won't wear it that often, but yeah, the Monday sweater is a winner, and you know, anytime I post it on Instagram, a lot of you also say the same, that you really, really love this pattern. So I would say if you're considering a raglan, definitely consider this one. I think the 3-stitch raglan detail here is just really classic and beautiful. It's a very polished piece, and you really can't go wrong with it. Next season, I actually have every intention of making this pattern again. I think I'll make it in more of a dark gray classic color because I just want this in every piece. I also think I would use a slightly less rustic yarn, so maybe something closer to a cashmere that is really, really soft on your skin. So I guess that's something I wouldn't necessarily change. It's just if I were to make it again, it's something that I would do differently, so I have a slightly different look and feel for the final garment. Cardigan number 4 by My Favorite Things Knitwear. This is my 4th piece on the list. I finished this, I think, end of February, and I had a whole saga with this piece, which if you have been watching my podcast since episode 1, you will know that I actually had intended to frog this whole garment. I was done the body, I had started on a sleeve, and it had just been sitting on my needles for so long. I think the fact that this half fisherman's rib is very slow to grow. The process of making it with like the integrated button band, I had made some mistakes. So you can kind of see there's some laddering here, and I really got in my head about this one, and it has like kind of a balloon sleeve that I didn't think would suit me. And so I had said in that first episode, maybe I'm just gonna pull this all apart and do something else. And I'm so happy that so many of you were very, very against that. And I got so many comments on that first episode saying, you need to keep going. That piece is beautiful. Please, please don't rip it out. So I decided to just, you know, over a few months, really buckle down, finish the sleeves, and yeah, I figured at the very least, okay, I'll have a cardigan that I can wear at home over sweatpants and it'll be cozy. I was so wrong about this piece. What a surprise, like in the best way. This cardigan has become, like on average, I wear it every second day. So I took this to France with me and I wore it every night in the house when it started to get cold. I wore it on the plane, I wear it to work. For most of that time, it didn't have the buttons yet. And trying to find buttons for this was also a saga. I went to a whole button shop here in Amsterdam. It's pretty much all they sell. The woman was very, very rude, but I got to try multiple buttons up against it, and I ended up with this like very simple kind of pearly white button, and I'm very happy with it. So I just added these because I was trying to pick an outfit actually for an event that I spoke at last week here in Amsterdam. And my husband was trying to help me pick out outfits, and originally I was actually going to wear my CARDI jumper, but then with sneakers and the navy trousers I wanted to wear, he's like, oh, it doesn't feel very Amsterdam, it feels like a bit too fancy and polished. And so I was like, okay, well, what should I wear? And he's like, I think you should put the buttons on this cardigan and wear that, because it just like looks kind of slouchy and casual. It goes really well with sneakers, and it's really become a piece that I can dress up, dress down. It goes with absolutely everything. As all of you said, you were right. So that's actually what I ended up doing. I spent the evening last week, I think Tuesday, putting the buttons on, and then I wore this to my event. I'll insert some pictures. And I felt so good about myself. I just felt really confident in this piece. And, you know, nobody complimented my sweater or anything, but I think that's actually a good sign sometimes, that if people don't say anything, it probably also means it looks store-bought and not handmade, if that makes sense. So this really is becoming my, like, I don't know, power sweater. I feel really good about myself when I wear it. I actually have really grown to love the color. I think especially just wearing it over a white t-shirt or tank top, it looks great, but you can put it over brighter colors if you want. And actually, like, the baggy sleeves in that, I think have looked really good on me. So that's something for me to keep in mind, I think, for future projects. My overall satisfaction of this piece, I would say it's a 4 out of 5, and only because I have so many mistakes in this one and I notice them. So also on this cardigan, I put the buttons actually on the reverse side. So that was with the intent of trying to cover up this laddering here so that hopefully the button band would sort of sit over top it. Whereas if I'd done it on the other side, I think it would have been really in your face. It still doesn't cover it up as much as I would like, but it's okay. It's better. It does feel a little bit awkward. I feel like it looks awkward having the buttons on the opposite side. My husband, when I put them on, was like, something looks a little bit off about it, and I can't put my finger on it. And I'm thinking maybe it is that the buttons are reversed, because you're not used to that with normal cardigans. But I'm glad that I made that decision so that I sort of hid some of the flaws in this. But also, yeah, this sleeve, I did the decreases wrong. I talked about it in podcast 11. I just couldn't figure out, or was it podcast 11? I don't know. I talked about it in one of the podcasts. I just couldn't figure out the pattern for that. The first time I read it, I was like, screw it. I'm just gonna do the decreases as knit two together. And then on the second sleeve, suddenly it clicked, everything made sense. And you can see that one looks much cleaner. Since this is balloon sleeve and it always sort of sits overlapping, I didn't see any point in going back and fixing it. So it's fine. Would I make this sweater again? Probably not, just because I really disliked the process. But I probably would make a sweater with an integrated button band again. I feel like I'd be a bit more comfortable with it. And the Agnet cardigan from PetiteKnit in brioche stitch is actually high on my list for that. I haven't quite psyched myself up to it yet, but that is something that I'm considering now that I know how to make it. But I think I also wouldn't make this piece again because it's special, it stands out. Having just one in a quite neutral color, I think fits my wardrobe really well. I'm really, really happy with it. And I want it to sort of be a standalone piece on its own that I feel really good about wearing, and I don't really need it in multiple colors. So that is my cardigan number 4, now with buttons. It's beautiful and definitely very, very high on my overall satisfaction. That brings me to my final sweater for this wear test video, and that is my Gallant sweater from Caidree. So this has only been off my needles for just about a month. It probably honestly shouldn't even be in this video because I haven't had proper time yet to really like wear test it and see how I feel about it. But I've worn it so much that I decided I am just gonna throw it in. So you will have seen in my latest podcast episode, I talked a lot about this one already. I made it in the Woolfolk 4 yarn, which is a chainette blow-in, I think worsted weight, in the color aubergine. And sorry, I got so many compliments on the color of this yarn and just how like perfect it suited my skin tone. And that actually makes a lot of sense because when I did my color analysis a couple of years ago with stylists here in Amsterdam from Fashion and Repeat, they actually said that my base neutral colors, so think like your navies, your blacks, they actually said that this kind of eggplant aubergine color was my best suited base color instead of either of those. The only thing is it's quite hard to find, so yeah, unless it's in season, it's not the most common color to find in your like in your basics. But when I have an opportunity to make something with it or buy it, then I really want to, because I do think this is probably my most suitable color within my palette, and I just feel amazing when I wear it. So yeah, I think on average I have been wearing this similar to my cardigan number 4 actually. I think like every 3 days, multiple times a week for sure, since it's been off my needles. I definitely am still a tad bothered by the neckline because it was meant to be more of a funnel neck, and I think just with this yarn, and maybe I didn't knit it fully to the right length before I started the raglan shaping, it is sort of stretching out. So I need to get some elastic and put it in there. But when I asked in my last podcast if I should be fixing that, not one person said yes. Every single person that commented about it said, just leave it. It looks great. Don't worry about it not being like too patterned as the funnel. It's still really, really good for you. So yeah, why add extra work for myself if I don't need to? So I'm going to leave it, try the elastic, see how it goes. So yeah, this pattern has been awesome. So my overall satisfaction on this one, I would say, is a 4 out of 5. And the only reason that I really take points off for this is I wish it did have some German short rows so that the back was a bit raised and the body didn't do that kind of like triangle trapezoid shape in the back when you're wearing it. But it's not the worst thing. If I had felt confident I would have had enough yarn, I would have added those, but I was really trying to work with the initial 6 skeins that I bought. And I think other than that, yeah, maybe the neckline a little bit, I would have tried to get it to stand a little bit more. I also did rave about this yarn throughout the entire process. That still remains true, but I am noticing that it's starting to pill. I don't know if you can really see it. The yarn has started to pill, and that worries me a little because it's only a month old basically. So if it's already pilling now, I think this sweater is going to require a lot of upkeep to de-pill every kind of few wears. And that makes me a little bit nervous for how the garment will just hold up over time. If I'm constantly de-pilling it, is it gonna start to fall apart? So I do think this is a sweater that might come back in fall knit review for the wear test to see, okay, if I give it a bit more time, am I still as happy with it? Would I work with this yarn again? Because yeah, like the actual process of working with this Woolfolk yarn is so lovely. The color is amazing. It's a very, very soft chainette yarn. It's probably the favorite one I've worked with. But for how expensive it is, I think you also need to feel confident that that piece is going to last for a while. And that's just where I'm still a little bit hesitant, so that's why I'm not giving it a 5 out of 5. I think that's the biggest reason actually, and we will see with a bit more time how this holds up. But it's a lovely piece and I'm really, really happy with it. So that brings me, yeah, to the end of this episode, the first wear test video. Let me know in the comments what you thought of this, if I provided enough information, if there's anything that you'd like me to consider adding for the future. I'll probably do these videos every 4 to 6 months. I think also my main takeaway from this season, so kind of the winter edition, is I made some really solid pieces. I'm really happy and proud of myself for the garments that I picked, how well and seamlessly that they fit into my wardrobe. So the only outlier being the salty days for, yeah, various reasons that are my, you know, kind of poor decisions throughout the process. But for everything else, I think I picked really classic fits in great yarns. And yeah, they really add something. They're really elevating my wardrobe. And I think now I'm trying to also buy other items that complement those so that I can change them out, wear them more. And so I think I want to just bring that idea more into future seasons, like really find pieces that, you know, make me happy. I think they have a real place that I can wear multiple times, at least per month, and I'm going to enjoy them. So hopefully this continues. If I look back in a few months at my kind of spring knits, am I gonna feel the same? I know for a few pieces already, probably not, but I still have a long way to go in my spring knitting, and so we'll see what new things I learn throughout that process. But thank you for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you know about all my upcoming videos. I post new podcast episodes every 2 to 3 weeks. I am expecting in the next little bit, it will be more likely 2 weeks going forward. And in general, I just love sharing my knitting thoughts with you guys, really engaging with the community. It's brought me a lot of joy, and thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next episode.